Hello, I'm Jesse with Living Tree Community Foods, and today we'd like to say a few words about Alive and Raw. Allow me to begin at the beginning. Raw food had to happen. It just had to. According to the New York Times, about 38% of American adults were obese in 2014. Up from 35% in 2012. In other words, a third of Americans are clinically obese. The estimated number of overweight or obese people worldwide is over 2 billion. 1 in 3 children is heavily overweight or obese. They are not only obese, but are literally becoming immobile and handicapped. Moreover, this is a lead-in to cardiovascular disease, diabetes, and many cancers. Indeed, diabetes, cardiovascular and cancer have assumed epidemic proportions. More than 346 million people have diabetes, and deaths from this disease are expected to double by 2030. According to the World Health Organization. That's why raw food had to be. It just had to burst into a world gone mad. And so it had. Is it any wonder that its early adherents were possessed? They were possessed by the zeal of the newly converted. Cooked food is poison, was their battle cry. I recall going to an international raw food conference outside of Portland, Oregon. We had a booth there. And I remember being confronted by the zealots. Are you 100%? And yet the fanaticism was a necessary stage because there had to be a complete break with heavily processed, chemically laden food. But let's look deeper. One great discovery is that besides the minerals, enzymes, nutrients, and fiber, there is something else. I call it aliveness. Here is some kale. How alive and vibrant. Compare it with so-called kale chips, which you buy in a store. One may just as well eat cardboard. We are convinced that the aliveness of a food has a lot to do with the vitality of the person who eats it. We call our foods alive because they are vibrant and radiant. But we can envisage going from enlivening one's kitchen to enlivening public parks, schoolyards, streets, backyards, and even worse, workplaces. Raw is something out there that happens in the confines of one's kitchen. But we dare not remain there. Raw has gone the way of the war on poverty, the Great Society, No Child Left Behind, and politically correct. Woman's Lib, for example, stood for a truth whose time had come. But now even the most ardent feminist wouldn't touch it. So too, organic has been replaced by regenerative agriculture. Raw has undergone a rebirth, a transformation, a rebirth in a powerful synthesis with 2 other elements. The first were green drinks, which were pioneered by Dr. Kirschner in his classic Nature's Healing Grasses. This book, written over 60 years ago, is a classic, and it's still available on Amazon, by the way. Then there was the tireless work of world teacher Victoria Butenko, and she travels around the world giving classes on green drinks, green smoothies. This is a powerful, powerful discovery. Try it for yourselves, please. All that we're asking is that you take an ordinary kitchen blender, you put in bottled spring water, and to that you add chopped up kale, parsley, lettuce, Swiss chard, chopped beets, chopped carrots, maybe some avocado, and you press the button and you have a wonderful and delicious green smoothie. And don't forget to add a few kernels of garlic, by the way, also, just for taste. So here was an original discovery, the healing power of finely divided greens in a green drink or a smoothie. And in our experience, nothing is more vitalizing, more vivid, more streaming, and more alive than a green smoothie. So we had here a great discovery, green drinks, and another great discovery was what is called nowadays intermittent fasting. This was the realization that not eating is an integral part of a live food diet. Here, Professor Arnold Ehret's Rational Fasting, written over 90 years ago, towers over similar works. It's available also on Amazon, and anyone who's at all serious about their health, liveliness, and nutrition should certainly get a copy of this magnificent book. And then there was a third element, and that's vigorous exercise, pioneered by world teacher and Olympic coach Dr. Doug Graham. So we have three elements here. We have green smoothies, intermittent fasting, and vigorous exercise. And this constitutes the new synthesis, the synthesis that has replaced raw food. Where there was raw, there are now green drinks, vigorous exercise, and intermittent fasting. There is still another reason why we must make the leap to alive. Consider an almond. Just as with the kale, it has an aura of life energy. It is alive, but it leads a double life. It is alive in two quite different ways. Try as I may, I cannot discern by looking at the almond that it is the result of efforts of untold generations of farmers, many obscure and hidden from history. Then there are those, so untold generations, who have bred and select the almond to bring it to the wonderment that we behold today. Then there are those who made the farm machinery, those who planned and dug the marvelous system of canals, bringing water from the snowbank at the tops of the Sierras and distributing it down into the orchards down below in the Great Central Valley. There are those who made the pumps, the tractors, the harvesting machinery, the buildings, the sorting, the storage, and refrigeration machineries, and those who bring in bees, hives of bees, every springtime from all over the United States to pollinate the almonds during the critical bloom period, which only lasts 2 weeks. So therefore, the almond is, in a very real sense, the congealed energy of hundreds of thousands of Americans. It is a living social artifact. As such, there is nothing simple about it. It is a social building block of the world we live. It even dances. It dances with apples, oranges, automobiles, elephants, and airplanes. Just now, at current prices, a ton of almonds can exchange for a new car or for 4 tons of apples. So we see that the almond is doubly alive. It is alive in itself with universal life energy, and it is alive as a social artifact. Clearly, the time has come to go from raw to alive. There is yet another reason. The nation of strangers in which we live has become more estranged than ever. How lonely, how isolated we have become. Look at all the lonely people. Where do they all come from? All those so-called friends on Facebook. What do they really mean? How impoverished we are. Text messaging is a paltry excuse for conviviality. An indigenous in the depths of the Amazon, clad in a loincloth, is far, far richer. The deepest thinkers posit a universal life. It is the substance of all particular living beings. Individual lives of each are atoms. We're all atoms of a universal life. It seems to me that we have got to exemplify the life of which we are constituents in workplaces, schools, and families. We have seen that alive. The word alive opens door after door of inquiry, whereas raw leads nowhere. Try as we may, we cannot conceive of anyone casting a vote for raw. Raw is raw is raw. It has exhausted its possibilities. It has nowhere to go. On the other hand, every blade of grass, every flower, every tree intones its song of aliveness. To you who have chosen life in the food you eat, I say get on with the job. The task of our generation, as Scripture tells us, is to choose life in all things so that we may live. Thank you so very much indeed. It is my privilege to be speaking with you. Thank you.